Hello and welcome to Seek the Magic. This is Erin. I feel like it has been a little while since I have recorded. Well, I don't feel like it. It has been a while since I recorded. And I know that kind of goes against the podcasting rules of skipping a few weeks, but luckily we have a small listening audience base. So hopefully I will be forgiven for this and I can get back on track. So since I last recorded, it was late August. So I skipped the month of September. And that is because I had a few different things happen. Number one, I very much injured myself by running too many miles too quickly, which is an act of hubris for sure, because my knees, even though my mind was very excited to get back to running, my knees said, I don't think so. And they got inflamed and it made it hard for me to walk for a few weeks. And so that immobilized me a little bit. And then my son got sick twice, 1 week, and then better another week, and then sick another week. And then he passed it on to me and my daughter. Luckily, my husband didn't get it, but the whole family was sort of down for the count. So a few things. Number one, I am very thankful that while we were sick, I have family to help out. And my mom was an amazing support during both my knee being injured and when I got sick, or when my son had to stay home, because she stayed home and cared for him so I could continue to work. And also she helped with the kids because my knees hurt so much. I literally had a hard time picking them up for a long extended periods of time, especially going up and down the stairs. And so she actually said to me, because I was trying to still do this all myself, and she said, I think you need to give your knees a rest for actually picking up your children, and that will probably help you get better. And I said, I think you're right. And so as a result, I did stop picking them up to go up and down the stairs. And that actually turned out to be a turning point in my knees not constantly literally hurting with every step. And right now I am sitting here free of knee pain, thankfully, after like 3 weeks. And I do want to run again, but I need to figure out how to approach it less aggressively than I like to, because my mind, which again, I'll get back to the ego mind, thinks, yes, I want to run and I can just do it, and avoids thinking about the natural strategic build-up strategy that runners have, which is, if you haven't run in a while, then you should probably run every other day. You should only run 3 or 4 miles. I happen to, at the end of the month of August, run 5 miles or almost 5 miles 2 days in a row. And that just, anchored my knees. So a few things, just in addition to being grateful for the support that I had from my mom and my family in helping recover, I'm also very grateful for my knees and my health and my mobility in general, because with having something that hurts for every step you take, it reminds me that these joints, these functions of our bodies that we don't necessarily think about all the time are so important. And because they don't hurt, we can take them for granted. And this time period of knee inflammation really showed me what a major impact that has on my life. And when not injured and healthy, it enables me to do many things. And I'm just very grateful for that. The other item, or the main theme that I wanted to talk about today, is surrender, and how surrender can be very important. And I think this is a theme for me probably this fall. And I would say this is a general part of the spiritual practice, but I think this will be a highlight focus for me because of what this, knee injury incident brought up, with just causing immobility. And literally when I first got hurt, I thought, okay, this is just going to get better. And I didn't, I stopped running because I literally couldn't run, but I still, tried to do everything else normally in terms of, picking up my kids, going up and down the stairs, all that. And it made the injury worse. And I tried to power through it. And it wasn't until my mom had a suggestion that was like, you should probably stop lifting the children so much, and that will help you. And when I finally, reflected on that, accepted additional help, really asked for more help from things that I had previously just done as part of my normal schedule and responsibilities, once that happened, my knees started getting better. And so I think that that is an important sign. And what I am taking away from that is accept help. And, surrender is a good way to think about that. Just accept what is now and take steps to rest and recover. So anyway, that is the topic of the day. And I think that surrender relates to seeking magic in the everyday, because although the term seems like, giving up and giving up power, really what you're doing is you're opening up yourself to more possibilities. And that is what I found, alternate by accepting help, by stopping, by stepping back. It allowed me to rest and recover and think about alternate ways to get better, doing more meditation, really focusing on breath work on a daily basis. And I think that it could be seen as a message from the universe as I, tried to get back on the active track with running, to not run fast, but to slow down and to really focus on mindfulness, patience, and trust. And it was very hard to not to trust in the universe, because when I had so much pain, I was like, why is this happening? I don't have the time for this. And then also, it happened when part of the reason why I ran 2 days in a row is because we were going to Washington, D.C. to see Bruce Springsteen in concert, which I was thrilled about. And I thought, I absolutely want to run in the nation's capital and, enjoy the beautiful monuments and really appreciate it that way. So I ran the weekend before to sort of ramp up quickly so I could run in DC. And what that did instead is it really slowed me down. And it meant when we went to DC, we walked around a little bit, but by the end of the trip, I was in more pain because we tried to walk around. And although I didn't get to run around and we still saw beautiful sights, it was still a stress on my legs. So anyway, that was a surrender. Meant that the trip didn't go exactly how I expected. However, I am here to report that the Bruce Springsteen concert was absolutely amazing. And I haven't seen him in concert since 2008, and it was a 3.5-hour concert. And we got there at 7:30 thinking the concert's not going to start till like way later. Who's the opener or whatever? And we were standing in line, and Bruce Springsteen started playing 7:30, and he didn't stop playing till 11. So that was absolutely amazing, uplifting. And I am proud of myself for finding the joy in that moment, that experience, regardless of, my knees hurting or whatever. So I'm glad that I got through that. The trip was wonderful, and I need to go back to DC when I am more mobile so I can really walk around, explore more, and do all that. But we saw the Capitol, we saw the presidential portraits, including Obama's portrait, which I hadn't seen. Well, I hadn't seen any of the presidential portraits. We saw some of the monuments. We went to Georgetown. We saw the Native American Museum, which was absolutely beautiful. And overall, great trip, even though knees were not cooperating. So I think one of the key messages in surrender in this case is, number one, falling back into trust. And I say that as falling back because when I think about trust and focus my mind and heart on it, it is more of a relief and a step back as opposed to a think through it, process and verify, which is very much a action of the logical mind, of the ego. And trust is really stepping back, realizing that you are only one part of this overall creation, story, journey. And while we play a part, we are not the whole picture, and we actually probably have less influence, and especially our egos have less influence than we would like to think. So stepping back and trusting is certainly a part of a spiritual practice. I think it is a gift and a form. It can lead to finding joy and magic because by trusting, you lead yourself to be open to more possibilities and to think about different pathways forward. and to also think about what messages is the universe sending, and or what lessons can you take from what you are facing in your life at the moment. It helps you release attachments. So, I thought I was going to run around DC for 3 days and have a wonderful time and walk and see every single site. And that just didn't happen. And that's okay. And when I got back and I, asked for help to, do some of the things I mainly did with my kids, it was beautiful to see the support and help of others and sort of change how some things were done, which was a benefit for our kids because they got more engagement with, different people that were helping us, and also was a change of how we were doing things. And I think that makes a big difference overall. And then larger picture, even though this particular incident, I haven't found the divine timing meaning yet, but I do believe in divine timing and thinking about what things happen when. So I think that's an element of surrendering that is important. So while a big incident can cause us to, or can really help us confront surrender, as this did in the example of my injury, I think every day we can practice elements of this and incorporate it into our lives. So whether you get up in the morning or if you meditate, this is a moment to think about and remember the art of surrender, and to tell the ego to take a back seat to what is going on, or not to take complete control. Another aspect of surrender that I think about daily is how it relates to responding and not reacting. This is part of not letting our emotion take the lead and drive where we are and what we do. Recognize that when something happens, we will have a reaction to it. And it's important to acknowledge that reaction, but then to also give it space between what is happening and how we process it, how we take action and move forward. So I think this is a huge gift. And, this is certainly a part of different spiritual traditions, responding and not reacting, and then also cognitive behavioral therapy as well, just taking and giving space and not letting the emotion ride us. And it's important to process the emotion, but not let the emotion and the story attached to it loop around and around and around. And that's really hard because our egos like that. They like to try to solve the problem. They like to try to fix and move in the direction that they want to go in. But it doesn't benefit us overall. It keeps us stuck. And definitely it's not good to necessarily be in emotions of frustration and anger for a long period of time. It's important to acknowledge those emotions and feel them. But literally, to fully process an emotion, it takes 90 seconds, according to some source that I don't have at my fingertips right now, but I will try to find it. But then it's gone, as opposed to stuffing it down or having it linger in the back of your mind or attaching it to a story and just keeping it in your head. That leads to less than ideal outcomes for many different situations. Another daily aspect of practicing surrender is letting go of expectations. And I laugh as I say this because I certainly have expectations for lots of different things. And I think this is good in some situations because it helps us move forward. It helps us make progress. It helps us hold ourselves and others to high standards, but it can also inhibit us from making progress on things. And it can also lead to disappointment, to tunnel vision, to lots of different things that won't help us live our most fulfilling life, and quite honestly won't help us discover the magic in different scenarios. Because if we have certain expectations, then we have a very narrow focus about what we think should happen or could happen. And as a result, we really don't see the full picture. So Those are my main takeaways for this. Ways to embrace surrendering, really just first being aware of it. Know that your ego mind can just, run away and try to control everything and get you in a negative loop. So being aware of that is really the first step to making incremental improvements and taking a breath and letting the universe sort of lead the way. Speaking of breath, I've talked about breath work before on this podcast, and this was certainly a big part of my recovery in the knee situation, in that I couldn't do as much as I normally could working out wise, and I would get frustrated. And so I did really take moments to fall back on breath work, whether it be in morning meditation or just taking a few minutes. And my default is breathing in for a count of 3 and then breathing out for a count of 6 and doing that for 2 to 3 minutes. And what that does is breathing out for longer in your exhale, then breathing in activates your parasympathetic nervous system. So it makes you more calm. It tells your body you're safe, and it helps create heart-brain coherence, which means that your heart and your mind are working together, and that minimizes the ego, right brain taking away everything, and it activates more of your true essence. Practice acceptance is another key thing, which we sort of talked about it before. And then really having trust in the unknown, engaging in just simple affirmations like, I trust in the flow of life, and surrender to the present moment, and remind yourself that the unknown and looking at all the possibilities is part of life's magic. So that is about it for today. I feel like this is one of my longer recorded solo podcasts, so very happy to be back and look forward to getting back on a consistent podcast schedule as life allows, as I continue to surrender. And I hope you can seek the magic in your day-to-day. Take care.